to Efrat Sopher, Chair of the Board of Advisors at the Ezri Centre for Iran and Gulf States Research. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Your reaction to what is happening between Lebanon and Israel right now?
Thanks for having me on, Matt. I think the developments are very interesting in that they're showing how much restraint Israel has shown so far, where we have had over 8,000 rockets fired at Israel from Hezbollah bases inside Lebanon. And this has been since October 8th, where there was no actual dispute with Lebanon. And so, as the president said in the interview with Trevor Phillips, this is the last thing that Israel wants, is an escalation. It is purely a development for self-defense, where having watched the goings-on inside Israel, commentators saw that there were short to medium missiles ready to be launched at Israel, which could have hit, and as we see here in the pictures, could have hit cities like Haifa. And so Israel was left in an impossible position, but to defend and to prevent a strike against its cities.
Yeah, but Efrat, let's just talk about, I mean, there's so much to talk about over the past almost a year since the October the 7th attack on Israel by Hamas. But more recently, this latest situation has been taken up a notch by the exploding pagers and walkie-talkies. Who do you think is responsible for that?
As the president said, Hezbollah has many enemies. I think that whoever...
Hang on a second. Israel has not claimed responsibility, has not responded. But really, do you think it was anybody other than Israel?
Whoever did it showed that they have extremely good intelligence. They show that they knew exactly where Hezbollah operatives have been. And I think that what our viewers need to know in this context is that the northern border and Hezbollah is something that Israel has been researching for many, many years, which is why I think while we see the situation develop, Israeli capability against Hezbollah will be very well calculated, especially since, and if we're looking at the broader context here, Iran will be watching, the Lebanese people will be watching, because as we can see, Hezbollah has had a stronghold, a chokehold on the Lebanese people for many, many years now. And so Iran knows, and for me as an Iran watcher, it's especially interesting to see. Iran could see that whoever did this pager attack has an extraordinary knowledge, extraordinary intelligence into the Hamas network. It demonstrated the veil has been lifted of all the proxies that are working with Iran. We saw the Iranian ambassador himself had one of these pages, which was a bit of a damning indictment.
Yes.
And other people who will be watching this also are allies, Israeli allies, who, like such as Sunni Arab states, moderate states, will see that Israel is standing up, as we see in the latest developments, to Iranian and Hezbollah aggression.
But Efrat, I mean, the Israeli government, a lot of Israeli people want these groups to be held responsible for their actions. But I have to come back to that question about Israel admitting responsibility for its own. It can't be, as Danny Ayalon told me earlier in the week, that this was somehow some sort of useful coincidence. The same with the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran as well. If it is Israel, why does Israel not just say it was us and take responsibility for these things?
I think from what I understand, the government itself makes strategic decisions on what to claim responsibility for and what to leave a bit more vague. We could see that Israel admitted responsibility for the killing of Ibrahim Akil, who had a bounty of $7 million on his head by the Americans. So I think Israel is very mindful of the repercussions of admitting responsibility for one action or another. So that is something that is also put within the calculus. I think something that the president mentioned, which hasn't been mentioned within the discussions this morning,
Yes.
is the infiltration of Hezbollah around the world that's backed by Iran. And so that's something that we as Brits need to be very, very mindful of. For me, for example, as a British Jew, where our institutions, our synagogues, our schools need to be closely guarded, this is something that the government needs to be mindful of when designating, for example, the IRGC as a terrorist organization. And of course, Hezbollah is designated here also.
Efrat, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.
Well, the Israeli President Isaac Herzog spoke to my colleague Trevor Phillips